Welcome back to the sports world with Patrick. Today's episode is extra special as we have a standout athlete joining us. We're talking about the incredible Josey Dunne, a force on the ice and a key player for Lindenwood University's hockey team. Known for her strong presence in the defensive zone and her leadership both on and off the ice, Josey has been making waves in the NCAA and has quickly become a fan favorite, whether it's her tendencies in front of the net or her ability to inspire her teammates. Josey's work ethic and passion for the game are undeniable. I'm excited to dive into her journey, her experience with Lindenwood, and what's next for her hockey career. Josey, welcome to Sports World with Patrick. It's great to have you here today. And so I do want to start you off with this question, Josey. Obviously, um, you're playing now at Lindenwood. Can you sort of give me what sort of inspired you to get into hockey, and was there a particular moment or person who inspired you to the sport?
Well, first, thank you for having me, Patrick. So I come from a big hockey family. I have five siblings, and we all play. We're super close and super tight knit. So I think when I saw my older siblings playing on the rink when I was about 2 years old, I just remember like, Mom, like I said, my parents said like, Mom, Dad, like I want to play, I want to do that. And so being from Missouri, my parents didn't know that girls played hockey. They thought girls were only allowed to do figure skating. So all of us girls started out as figure skating, and we threw fits. We're like, hockey looks so much fun. We hate figure skating. And so finally they let us try with the boys. And so, yeah, I've been playing. I would say my biggest like point of wanting to play was just seeing my siblings do it and something we could do together.
And obviously, so as you mentioned, you got your all of your siblings who do play the sport also. So, was there ever like particularly in the family like a very competitive moment where like let's say on the road when you were playing at the very young age, and let's say you were playing against your sister, like yeah, I'm gonna win this championship in this season or something like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, we play with whether we're playing with each other or against each other. It's competitive, and I'm gonna knock you down. I'm gonna pick you back up. I'm gonna make you better, and you're gonna make me better.
And obviously, you are now at Lindenwood. I know you were at the University of Minnesota for a few years there. And what sort of led you to choose Lindenwood after your playing in Minnesota at the University of Minnesota, and what really stood out to you about Lindenwood?
Yeah, well, I think just in general for a fifth year, it was like kind of having that bonus year. So I knew I wanted to do something different for that. And within being in the portal, like 30 minutes, I got an email from Lindenwood from Taylor. And I got a couple other emails that day, but Taylor was the only email that I got that was personally written. Everyone else was like, "Hey, Josie, saw you in the portal, da da da, I'm from so and so." And so I think just her initial like handwritten like email like is really what stuck out to me because it was personalized. Like she knew that I played forward, she knew that I played D, she knew that I like lived close. Like, and I think it's just being a fifth year, like that was something that was super important for me. In addition to like Lindenwood was one of the few programs that had a million master's opportunities and certificates into like getting to be close to home. Like I can't argue with that.
Yeah, I kept up a little bit with the transfer portal this last year because I was sort of looking at who was transferring where, and I kept up a little bit with it on the women's side and obviously on the men's side also. But then, of course, as time was going on, I did see your name in the transfer portal, and I was like, I'm gonna make a prediction. She's gonna go to Ohio State because I know your sister Joy does play there. I was like, watch, it's gonna be the Dunn sisters, playing in Minnesota, or Josie's in Minnesota. Now she's gonna go to Ohio State, and I'm like, you know what? It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I was like writing it down on a piece of paper because I was already like sort of doing my magic of like, okay, this person's gonna go there or that. And quite literally, I was like, yeah, Josie's gonna go to Minnesota or gonna go to Ohio State. Go play with her sister. And then I saw the Linda when I was like, got me wrong, but obviously, you've gotten to play with a lot of different players, and including now at Lindenwood. And I did go to one game at Lindenwood, sort of to go see the team dynamics you guys have there at Lindenwood. I know you mentioned that Coach Taylor, the email and the letter was very, very written personally. Was there, besides, just Coach Taylor, was there like particular players or even moments that really stood out to you now that you are at Lindenwood?
Yeah, so Molly Henderson actually, she played at the mission program, the Chicago mission program where I played, and she's on my team here at Lindenwood. But she like as soon as she saw my name and like knew that I was interested, she shot me a text and reached out to me. Just every single girl, like when I came to visit, like sent me a text. Every single girl checked in with me, which was so different. I would say than some of like the other schools I talked to or things, but like everyone was just like so genuine and like it would be so fun to have you. Like we're a great group, and like they really are a great group. Like it's a special place to be here, and yeah, I'm just very fortunate, like with each of them, like the way they like, as soon as I committed to, I got a text from all of them. I got a text from all the coaches, like everything just about the process. Just like for me, it was just like, yeah, like I want to go to Lindenwood.
And then obviously, I did mention how good of a reputation you have as a defender. And coming from a hockey family, you're gonna have a very high IQ, hockey IQ wise, and that's something that I think is very special about what I've gotten to see, because I know I've gotten to see you play, and I've gotten to see your sister Joy play. I think I might have seen your other sister play, didn't see, but I'm not sure. I can't remember if she was at that game that I was at in, because I did go to Detroit when the PWHL took over Detroit. But obviously, every player is gonna have a different playing style. Joy plays the forward, and then you play the defensive side of the puck. But what would you sort of describe your playing style, and what do you consider your strongest asset on the ice?
Yeah, I think like you kind of touched on, my strongest asset is hockey IQ. I would say I've gotten that on every single team I've ever been a part of, whether that was youth at Minnesota or then it would like just, I think my ability to like see things and then like also execute those things. Just because in Missouri, like you had to play forward, you had to play defense, you had to play goalie, so you learned to play every position. And I think that's where like my hockey IQ like really developed. And yeah, I think in addition to that, I think my shot is a big strength because I've been that forward, I've been that deep. And then too, like I use my size, like I'm a big presence and a big force, and like I like to play strong, and you're definitely not going to have an easy battle with me, and I take a lot of pride in that.
And then obviously I know there's the two-way defenders and the one-way defenders and everything. But obviously the skill set now today in hockey, it makes a difference. We see it with some of the likes of Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, Elias Pettersson over in Vancouver. Throughout your career, was there a particular skill set or even aspect of your game you were always focusing on, improving throughout the season?
I would say I think my speed and my shot. I think I focused on all skills just because like I'd always been told like you have the hardest shot, like you're doing good here, but I'm just realizing there's always a level to get better and always be better. You can always be better than what you are. But I think my dad, two of my siblings, we he likes us to score goals, so he definitely put a lot of time into shooting and our shooting lessons.
And then obviously, I know last season you were in. I believe you got injured towards the end of the season. I do remember seeing you at the University or the Minnesota versus Ohio State game. And I sort of was waiting for that game because there was a lot of players I was looking particular at, because during the summer I do go to the World Junior Showcase, and I kept hearing a bunch of names being thrown around of players to watch, and like I had a list written down, and there was like two or three different players. But then I also know that sisters can be competitive when they play against each other on against each other. Definitely when it's for conference points and everything. And so I was really hoping to see you, but I think you had already been injured by that point. Um, what was that sort of like, and to overcome it, and how did you sort of handle it?
Yeah, I had a tough go with injuries at Minnesota. I played my freshman year fully healthy, and then I hurt my ankle my sophomore year, and I ended up having three ankle surgeries, broke a couple bones here and there. But I think too, like with my little sister, like obviously, like first and foremost, like we wanted to play together, and then I also didn't want her to pick Minnesota for me. I wanted her to do what she wanted to do. So she picked Ohio State, and then with COVID, it was like, oh, now we get 2 years, like, and then like we're super looking forward to playing against her. But I think it worked out for the best that I wasn't playing in that game because we're both very strong-headed, and we probably would have gotten into it for sure.
And then obviously the sport of women's hockey is growing at like an exponentially high rate, which I'm really happy to finally see that. And I know in Missouri it is also growing at a very high rate in concerns with the sport. And so obviously, as as with everything, and I know you've played on Team USA, so how did you sort of handle those challenges when you started to become more popular, and you were on the national team's page, or really once that moment came to step up and be in the same spotlight that your sister has been in, but both of your sisters have now been in for a while.
Yeah, no, I think just like having those two, like they're the people that like I lean on for everything and learn from. Just all my siblings in that way. So I think for me, like even when they were growing up, like we didn't understand what college hockey was. I was so confused when she left for Ohio State. I was like, what is she even doing there? Girls play hockey in college. Like I had no idea about a lot of things. So even with like all of that stuff that started to come, I was like, oh, like what is that? Like so it was never like anything that I was like, wow, like but I think for me, just like it was always like nice when I like did a camp and there was a girl like coach and like instructor. And so I really try to do that like back here in Missouri. And Jinsey started her Josey Dunne hockey camp every summer in Missouri. And we had like a bunch of girls come. And so like I just look forward to like doing stuff like that.
Yeah, it's been pretty impressive. I'm waiting for the day because I've got like a strong feeling coming up here in a few years we'll have the first head coach. Jessica Campbell right now, she's at with the Seattle Kraken. I'm waiting for the very first day that we get a women's head coach in the NHL. I'm waiting to see that day. I think it's going to be Jessica Campbell, but it could be somebody else. But obviously, as sort of a leader because of being an upperclassman in at Lindenwood, you do sort of have a very big say in the locker room there. So you're known for being a leader both on and off the ice. How do you sort of approach all these leadership responsibilities that you do end up having throughout the season, and then when it comes to motivating your teammates, how do you sort of help motivate your teammates for whatever it's a game or you know let's say you're down 2-1 and you're like we can come back throughout the season itself.
Yeah, no, I think I developed a lot of my leadership qualities like from my siblings and my family and just the way like our parents raised us. And just the importance of like being a leader in different environments, like what that looks like, whether you're an outspoken leader, whether you're a soft spoken leader. And I think a thing that we were told a lot is like people like at the end of the day, they're not going to remember how many goals you scored, how many shots you blocked, or whatever, but like people will never forget how you made them feel. And so I think with that, I just try to um, always listen first before I speak and just like when needed, like say that extra thing, like, hey, girls, like we got this. Like it's one game, like anyone can bounce back in a period. And just try to be motivating in that way. But I think first, just like listening to the girls and like developing that relationship and like being true to what I say because no one wants to listen to someone that doesn't do what they're actually saying.
Yeah.
So,
And I do have this question. So I did interview Brad Frost over at Minnesota to begin the podcast, and I had this very important question for him, and I sort of do want to see the player aspect of this also. Obviously, communications play a huge role in how a player or how even a team really acts. But how much of how important is it that your leadership group, your coaches, and then the leadership group talking to the players in general, how important is that for having a successful team?
yeah, well, I think it takes everyone, whether you're a roster of 26, 27, or 25, and with the coaches. It's just like the thing in the ship. Like if we're all rowing one way, but someone's not doing their part, like the ship, it's we're not going to row, or we're not going to be less efficient. And so I think it's just, like I said, like holding yourself accountable first, and then your teammates, because no one wants to follow someone that doesn't do what they're saying on their own. But I think if there's accountability, if there's respect, and like if you're wanting to like work hard and like work for the person next to you, then I think you just like get that like team togetherness and that like communication, and like that's what I think at the end of the day is going to carry like a great team and like a team far.
Obviously, you guys do have a very special group there at Lindenwood, and I know right now I believe it's like 6 or 7 players are playing for the Olympic qualifiers this year alone. What has really made this team this year special, and how much of that is the team chemistry playing a role in the success you guys are having on and off the ice?
Yeah, well, I think kind of like you touched on, like there's so many people from like different countries and places, and so like with that team, like everyone has different like skill sets and things that they bring to the team, which I think in the style of play we play makes us like super special. And with that, like with some of the language barriers and like different things, like I feel like that's just what makes us close because we haven't been winning a lot this year, but like you still have to find a way to like come to the rink, work hard, and like be together, and that's something this group is very resilient at. I'm lucky to like learn from and experience and be a part of.
Obviously, as you just touched on it, the language barrier can sort of be hard when you do have international players. And I've talked to a few international players here and there, and they've all said, hockey really has that universal language, so it's not that hard, sort of, with the language barrier. But what's sort of one way you've helped your teammates who have been from an international perspective, get used to the locker room and the way stuff is, because I know the game's vastly different in Europe than it is here in the United States, and because sometimes it can be sort of it can throw a wrench in your game, if you're not used to playing the game that's played in North America, and some players come over and they play just fine, and they don't really play that well. But as I know, you've seen multiple different players across the board, but how do you sort of help them with that transitioning into the game here in the States?
Yeah, well, I think we're pretty lucky because some of us like had some English classes or been in America. But I would say with that still like the biggest thing I focus on is over communication, whether it's like a drill and practice or a thing, or sometimes like they get it and like but they call it something different, or there's just like hockey slang. So I would say just yeah, over communication. But no, they're always like asking questions and wanting to learn, which is super helpful as well.
And then obviously looking back at your career, you've had quite a few memorable moments, whatever, that's playing with your sisters, or even, just in general playing at Minnesota, because I know Minnesota's a pretty special place to probably play at, in general. But, is there a moment you'll never forget from your
I said this in my senior speech actually at Minnesota about scoring my first goal during COVID against Ohio State in the first game. Yeah,
that
that one was just extra special.
that and I think that rivalry is a lot more better than the one with Wisconsin that Ohio State has. I think Ohio State Minnesota, that's the best rivalry I've seen on the women's side so far. But obviously, are there personal achievements besides that one goal that you've sort of against Ohio State that you've also been proud of in your hockey career?
Yeah, I think too. It was always just like nice to be recognized like for academics on the other side of things of hockey. But I think too, like I got not necessarily personal achievements, but like I know for a fact that like all the girls in Minnesota like know they could call me for anything or talk to me for anything. And I think just as a teammate and as a friend and as a person, like it's means more to me that like people like feel they can come to me for anything and they're like I'm their friend. And so I would just say that and that they look to me as a leader, they look to me to speak and yeah. I'd say that's most important.
Yeah. I've gotten to see some stuff, and obviously, I believe you, because you did mention the Chicago Mission, correct? That's who you,
Hmm.
you were playing for when you were younger. Because I believe that there's two stars on Minnesota, Ivy Murphy and Ella Huber. Those two also played at the Chicago Mission. How was that sort of like going from the playing in club and to, or not club, but more so high school type of hockey, to college? Was there like a really big moment that changed, or something that opened your eye throughout the season that you're like, okay, this is different than what we were just playing, maybe a few months ago when you jumped into hockey the first year?
Yeah, no, I think Chicago Mission, like, I think they prepared us so well to go to college. Just the way, and we trained on the ice, off the ice, the intensity of it, the never quitting, the relentlessness. And so that stuff I all brought into college with me. And I got to go into college with Murph, who's one of my best friends. So that was, Ella came the year behind us. So I think just like pushing each other in that way. But I would say with college, you play a lot less games, but the games you feel way more tired playing in college than you do in high school. I would say that was the biggest thing. I was like, well, I'm tired after 2 games. We used to play five in a weekend. And I think too, just like the rivalry of things, just like playing Wisconsin, playing Ohio State, just like the preparation that goes into it, like both like right in front of us and like behind the scenes, like just everything that's like goes into like a college game day, like that was just like, whoa, this is crazy.
I remember I only played 3 years of hockey, and I played it overseas. But I remember I only played one game, and my second game got canceled because a Zamboni broke down where we were supposed to go. And quite literally, thinking back at it now, we would always play like they always told us no pucks like near the locker rooms or in the locker rooms, and we would just go full on out playing the game. Like it was so much fun. Did you ever get to experience that like sort of experience in general?
Yeah, no, I think definitely more at like the high school level than the collegiate level. I think just like the college, like some people like they put their AirPods in, they are no laughs, they are just straight game face. But then there's also people they like to dance, they need to jump around, they need to kick the soccer ball. But I would say high school's a lot like that, like whacking around, like having fun versus like college, like no, like we're here to win, and like we're gonna do everything we can to prepare to win.
And then as you're getting close to the end of your career at the NCAA level, do you have some specific goals or even milestones you're sort of hoping to achieve in your time or that you have left at Lindenwood?
Nothing specific, I think. I think just like leaving like my mark or impact on the program. Like I do think, yeah, we haven't won a lot, but I'm a big believer that we're a sleeper team and we're gonna make a push come playoffs. And so I would just like to go as far as we can in playoffs, and I believe we can. And I think our conference is very winnable. We've taken Penn State into overtime. We've beaten Mercyhurst, so we've beaten the top teams, and I just have a feeling we're gonna beat them when it counts.
And then I do know your sister plays at the PWHL level, and I believe you do have a brother that plays for the Cleveland Monsters. I believe it was the team
He's
that I
with
see.
Buffalo now. Yeah, so
Oh,
he's
he's with
with the
Buffalo now.
Americans.
Oh, so he's with the Americans. But obviously, you've gotten to see both sides of the hockey world, and uh, I'm a big. I've been very big about going to Michigan here and there, sort of getting to know the landscape of college hockey there, and I know more recently they published a story about what it would be or what it would cost, and how they could add a women's program in at the University of Michigan. Obviously, the sport's growing faster now since we've had the PWHL come online, but you know the sport still faces challenges on the women's side. Um, what do you sort of think needs to be done to elevate the game and make it even more popular in the future?
Yeah, well, I think like you said, like Michigan getting a program like would be huge for girls hockey. Like there are so many girls, and I have so many like teammates from Michigan that come out of Michigan, and like I know for a fact any girl would go to Michigan, Notre Dame, Michigan State, like all those schools, ASU. Like I think it's a shame they don't have a women's program, but I think what the PWHL doing is super important of like these takeover tours, just like coming to St. Louis, going to Michigan. And I think just showing that like people want to watch women's hockey. Like you have to like be willing to like you have to be a part of change and have to be a part of the process to like promote women's hockey. But like if you open the door and you give the rink and you give the location, all these things, like people want to show up and they want to watch women play.
Have you had a chance to see the takeover weekend so far? Of like
I I
from
will see it when they come to St. Louis. Yeah, I've got all my teammates going, so I'll get to see my sister then.
Yeah, I've only been to one, and that was last season, and it was in Detroit. It just happened to be like the perfect weekend too, because I was like getting ready to go see or go eat at Eminem's restaurant there in Detroit, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to this game because I'm already gonna be in downtown, and it was incredible, so incredible. Um, Probably the it's not the last PWHL game I'm going to, but I definitely know like that's going to be probably the one arena I want to go to for any game in the future. I mean, I just love that rink. That rink is so magical. I have so many great memories in there. So, but obviously, do you sort of see yourself playing professional after your college career? And you know, what do you think, or what do you think the future holds for you at the pro level?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. One question I keep getting asked a lot. And I'm starting to figure that out right now just because of all my injuries and COVID and this that, like I actually have a sixth and seventh year of college eligibility if I want it. Which I don't know about 7 years unless I'm gonna be a doctor when I leave. And then as far as professional, yeah, like Jinsey is definitely encouraging me to pursue that route. So yeah, but right now I'm focused on my season, focused on my team, and I'm planning to make a decision after that.
Hey, that's a lot of fun, I mean, I don't know where I saw it. I think it was somewhere I saw somebody had like 8 years of eligibility, and somehow I don't know how it worked out, but they got 8 years, and I was like, dang. I would,
That is crazy.
yeah, that well, COVID really I think threw everything in a wrench, but obviously for as we've talked, you've talked about how you're sort of trying to sort of just play for the season, and eventually you're hoping to make your decision on going professionally into women's hockey. For the young girls in Missouri who want to follow your footsteps, your sister's footsteps, you know and pursue a career in hockey, what advice would you give for them? And do you really have any tips for them to on balancing academics and the academics, the athletics, and the life part of their career?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to have fun, enjoy what you're doing, because if you're not enjoying it, you're not going to put in the effort that you need to go where you want to go. I think setting goals for yourself, I think it's never too early to set short-term goals, long-term goals, and I think just realizing like you can always improve every single aspect of your game, whether that's shooting, your first three strides, your crossovers, like you can always keep working in that way. And I think just like in balancing things, like that's part of what, if you want to play at the collegiate level, like figuring out that. And so practicing while you're in high school, while you're in middle school, that time management of like, okay, I go to hockey, I do my homework, and then I get to go shoot pucks. But academics is just important as athletics, and what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. So if you desire to go play at that collegiate level or professional level, like there's like you can start going now for that dream. Like there's never any time to waste, just because you're working, but the person like who lives down the street, they're working just as hard. So I think just doing that extra, because also too, if you plan to go far in hockey and if that's what you want, like realizing that like it's going to take a little extra than just doing what everyone else is doing.
And obviously, as you're someone who's been able to perform at such a high level. I know the athletes who play in the WCHA, and even when they leave the WCHA, or they go to a school who's not in WCHA, they're still some of the toughest, and they can compete at the highest level. I had one coach who told me that by being able to play at the WCHA level, it's a great talent creator for hockey in general. But obviously that also means you have to have certain mental and physical habits that you have to have throughout the season. What are sort of those mental or physical habits that have helped you maintain your success over the last few years?
Yeah, I think finding a balance between like my work ethic and like also resting. I think realizing that like on those off days, like no, I actually don't need to go shoot 100 pucks on this off day. I need to take this off day, because rest is such a big thing that like people like overlook, or like no, I don't need to take a break. But like taking a break, I think is how you stay engaged. So, like when you're there, you're giving 100%. Like I can have fun, do this. But like when I'm at the rink, like I'm at the rink to get better. I'm out there to perform, to push my teammates, and just to compete in every way. And I think too, like being in the WCHA, especially at Minnesota, like everyone is doing extra. So like what's gonna like find what you're good at and then perfect that. Because there's everyone else. You go to shoot 100 pucks, someone else there to shoot 100 pucks. Like, that's just the way the WCHA works. So just finding different ways to like compete and like play to your strengths and play to your game, I think is what like helps me stay focused. Because am I the fastest? No. But am I gonna shoot 100 miles an hour? I sure as heck hope so.
And then Josie, we'll sort of jump into some really fun questions here. So I do want to ask you this. Outside of hockey, what do you sort of enjoy doing in your free time, and any hobbies or interests that people might not know about?
Yes, I'm getting married in July, so I guess my current hobby is wedding planning. And I think too, just away from hockey, like I like to do everything else. I like to swim. I love to bake. I love to cook. But yeah, right now wedding planning is my favorite hobby.
Congratulations on the wedding. But
Thank you.
yeah, that's probably got to be the most stressful thing in life. I'll say that.
Definitely a little bit, yeah.
But into another fun question here. If you could play a different sport at the collegiate level, what would it be and why?
volleyball. And I say this every time I get asked. It's just because volleyball, like, it is such a fun atmosphere. Like the college game, like I love like going to the Minnesota volleyball games, and like it's just a sport too. You can play like beach volleyball, but you can also play indoor volleyball, and like players can do both. And like I just think volleyball is like the coolest sport.
And then let's say that you're hosting a dinner party. Who would be your top 3 dream guests and why?
Ooh, that's really hard. My top three. Okay. I'm gonna do Serena Williams. I'm gonna do Carrie Underwood. And my third, I think I'm gonna go Wayne Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky?
Kind of an odd three, but Carrie Underwood, I love her music. I love her philosophies in life. Wayne Gretzky, I would absolutely love to sit down with the GOAT and talk to him. And then Serena Williams, just like I think, just like the presence and the force she is as a female athlete, like is incredible.
And then, do you have any superstitions or rituals you have to follow during the season for something to go right every single game?
I can't say I do. I think I'm one of the least superstitious players. I got asked like, what's my superstition, and for a while, every time I had a honey stinger, I had a point. And I was like, okay, like maybe I'll try it. And then one game I didn't have a point, and I was like, okay, no, it doesn't work. I'm done with superstitions.
Who's your most favorite teammate that you've ever played with on the ice?
Ooh, that's hard. I mean, my siblings are definitely number one, but I would say number two has got to be like Abby Murphy or Ella Huber. I think too, like being able to grow up with people like at the youth level, because I knew them since I was about 8, to seeing where they are now and just their compete level. Like Murph is one of those teammates you love, but also could punch in the face when you're playing against her. And so we played against each other. We definitely got into it, and then we were teammates. We learned to love each other. And then I think just Ella too, like Ella, just like the way her game's developed, and like I think too, like as a person and like as a leader, how she's developed. Like I've got to say, they're my 2 favorite teammates.
And then if you could move to any different country for the rest of your life, what country would it be and why?
I gotta go Italy. I think it has everything you need, and just the food there, being right out on the water, and I love Italy. I love the views and everything, and yeah, Italy'd be hard to beat.
Yeah, I've been to, let's see, because you see, I lived in Europe. My mom's side of the family is all from Europe. All of her family is in Europe. So we did live there for a few years. I don't know. Have you been to Italy lately?
I was there briefly this summer. Yeah.
I want to say my favorite city. I don't know what your favorite city is. But I would say my favorite city was probably Pisa, and my least favorite city was Venice.
Yeah, Venice is a little busy.
Yeah. Um, but obviously, Josie, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. Your passion for the game, your leadership on the ice, and your commitment to growing women's hockey are truly inspiring. It's clear that the future, you've got a bright future ahead, and both on and off the ice. And before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to say to fans, teammates, or even young athletes out there who are looking up to you?
I think I said this, but earlier in the podcast, but just a reminder: at the end of the day, it's no one's going to remember you for how many points you put up, how many shots you blocked, how many faceoffs you won, but people will never forget how you feel and the way you made them feel.
Well, I know I speak for everyone when I say this. I'll be cheering for you guys every step of the way. I always go for the underdogs when it comes to the playoffs. So best of luck for the rest of the season, and I'll continue watching as obviously you and your family make a huge impact on the hockey world.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, Patrik.
Thank you.